As of September 19th, 2022, Adnan Syed was freed after 23 years of wrongful imprisonment. This is credited to the world-renowned true crime podcast, Serial. The podcast debunked most of the evidence from the prosecuting team, eventually leading to the case being thrown out by the prosecuting attorneys. The media has shown immense amounts of support for Syed since the growing popularity of his case has been observed across the country. The evolution of true crime podcasts as an entertainment form has transformed into a social movement that is creating evolving issues for the criminal justice system in American society. Together, we will observe an analysis of 3 different sources. The first will talk about modern-day true crime podcasting in a capitalist society. The second will look at the fine line of true crime being an entertainment media rather than journalistic media. And lastly, the third will analyze how podcasts not only inform but also promote action for reform. All of the sources will further prove that true crime podcasts are a strong catalyst in the cultivation theory. Before we dive in, what exactly is the cultivation theory? This mass media audience theory states that the more time people spend consuming media, the stronger their perception of the world around them will align with what is portrayed in the media they consume. For example, the more time someone spends watching The Bachelor, their standards for relationships and views on love will start to alter towards that of what is portrayed in the hit reality TV show. Modern-day podcasting has changed how people view the criminal justice system. Looking at how the serialization of these podcasts and the questions they raise about crime has influenced society's response, some podcasters define their genre as investigative journalism, while others would dispute those same podcasts as being too subjective and must be defined as true crime. One source describes this issue plainly by saying, quote, "True crime is an inherently slippery genre that is difficult to define," end quote. Podcasts can shed light on issues that listeners have with the criminal justice system, either confirming or possibly changing their views. Elizabeth Yardley states, quote, "The podcast's portrayal of the criminal justice system was also characterized by doubt and uncertainty, addressing questions like, can we trust the police, and will law enforcement help us if we become the victims of crime?" End quote. There are pros and cons as to what podcasters are doing for the criminal justice community. However, these podcasters feel it is their duty to shed light on what they see fit within specific cases and on the system as a whole. The job of a journalist is to give fair and factual statements and representation of what they are talking about. The same should be done by podcasters. However, they are not holding themselves to the same standards. The ethics and morals of journalists are not the same for that of podcasters. They are using more subjective stances rather than intellectual ones. One example that supports this is the following. Quote, "Podcasts themselves also differ regarding purpose and stance in regards to objectivity and advocacy." End quote. This harms the justice system because it gives its listeners false information regarding specific cases being talked about. Podcasters have even come out and claimed directly that objectivity is not their main goal. Kelly Bowling states, quote, "True crime podcasters are striving to achieve and form the audience perspective that appears to be more important than objectivity." End quote. This is a clear example that podcasters are out to get views and sell copies, and do not always give the clearest and most factual evidence about their work. Arguably, the ultimate goal is to make money and keep the viewers happy. Through daily observation from my personal social media usage, social media outlets promote that many downfalls of the social justice system as a whole. True crime podcasts shed light on faults in many cases from the past, as well as how to change this going forward. Podcasts do have a positive impact on the idea of reform in the criminal justice system. One example of this is, quote, "Within the true crime podcast population, each organization of population may have differing specific goals or methods, but many seem to share a commitment to justice and moral imperative to spread information and encourage advocacy." End quote. Having so many different points of view coming together gives a clearer picture of how reform can improve the American justice system. Because there are so many true crime podcasters with different perspectives, Lindsay Sherrill says, quote, "The availability of resources for mobilization is the driving factor behind moving collective awareness of an issue toward collective action." End quote. Justice reform is the most difficult solution lawmakers and justice workers have tried to fix for centuries. With the mass influx of new forms of media, new ideas have followed. With the emergence of new podcast platforms, true crime streaming rates have skyrocketed. This new age of podcasting is changing how people view the criminal justice system daily. Many see the reform that needs to be done, while others see the emerging problems that true crime is causing for the criminal justice system in the United States. This is proven through various case studies. Here are my references.